There were many controversies Augustine dealt with, apart from an ongoing struggle with Manichaeanism, which is a kind of quasi-Christian controversy, which is both about the goodness of the world, because the Manichaeans didn't believe that the physical world was a good thing, and also the integrity of the revelation history that Augustine and the Church understood themselves to possess, which included for them the Old Testament, what the Jews will call their Bible. The Manichaeans thought the Jewish Bible was an object of demons. So if anyone is out there thinking that Christian anti-Semitism is a problem, thank heavens the Christians and not the Manichaeans won that fight, because it would have been much worse. So that's one big controversy. There's another one that was an ongoing struggle that was local to North Africa called the Donatist struggle. And that was with a bunch of local people who were believers in a tougher, smaller, fiercer, more oppositional church. And they were often the more local, the more ethnically nationalist of the people who were from North Africa against the Latins who had come in to take their land and take their power. And so it was often set up as a kind of the Roman church versus the local North African church. And that was a struggle that he faced pretty seriously all the way up through 411 or so, and then it continued to sputter on in different ways for the rest of his life about whether or not those churches would be part of a larger Christianity or whether they were so pure they would step back from it. And then third, and in some ways most famously, there was an ongoing struggle with what was called Pelagianism. And that's a struggle about grace and free will. An enormously complicated struggle. Scholars are still arguing about what exactly it was that was at issue there. I am deeply charmed by a scholar, Robert Marcus, and his account of this, which says that Augustine effectively was trying to give an account that would allow for mediocre Christians to be Christian. They would still be mediocre, but they were Christian. Pelagius was a trained ascetic and in some ways an exemplar of an earlier, more elite version of Christianity that demanded an absolute and very astringent commitment to a certain set of practices, which were not entirely available to everybody. Augustine was, as a priest and in charge of a church, dealing with a lot of people at different stages of their spiritual journeys, and he wanted to allow those people to be part of the church. And so there's large and complicated philosophical and doctrinal debates that this thing gets involved with, but ultimately I think it's really about the degree to which you understand whether or not you can be still on the way to becoming, in some sense, the saint that you are called to be, or whether you have to be that saint right now. And Pelagius thought we all can be the saint we are called to be right now. And Augustine thought, I don't think that's true for everybody. And everybody has to struggle with the grace of Christ, and they have to accept that grace in a long and complicated way. But the struggle to accept that kind of grace is a struggle that can occupy an entire life.